What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Draft Hub. Today, we are going to be making my picks for week 4 of the 2025-26 NFL season. Now, I am doing this recording a little bit premature. Week 3 hasn't officially ended yet. As you see there, we have 47 games complete on the slate, not 48. I am recording this before the Detroit Lions and the Baltimore Ravens played their game tonight. So hopefully I did pick the Ravens. Hopefully by the time you were watching this on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, that the Ravens did win, and I could start my year with the best start I've ever had at a 750 win percentage. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about this week's slate of games. Some pretty good divisional matchups coming up. But a lot of injuries, man, just kind of killing the game so far early on in the season. It feels like every week we're seeing guys go down with unbelievable injuries. I mean, Najee Harris, I think, actually avoided a complete Achilles. No, I think he tore his Achilles completely. He's out. James Conner is out for the season. Nick Bosa is out for the season. CeeDee Lamb is going to miss the next 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, just a brutal week for injuries. Last week was Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. I mean, brutal week. But before we get into week 4 picks, if you guys love these videos or NFL draft videos or college football videos in general, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We are motoring along to 500 subscribers. I'm trying to get there by November 1st, and I think that we could do it at the time of recording. We're sitting at just below 360, so hopefully we can get to that 500 mark before mid-season of the NFL. So without further delay, let's get into it here. We're going to move on down. It's funny. I when I make these picks every week, I go with the standard view, and I'm just consistently scrolling down like this the whole time. I didn't even realize that you could do a dense view here, and it makes it so much better looking, in my opinion. I mean, I will have to move down quite a bit for the rest of the games, but we have a nice little slate of games here to look at. But first up is the Thursday Night Football game. You have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Man, just like I just mentioned, a brutal injury for the Arizona Cardinals. James Conner, who has very quietly been one of the most consistent running backs in football, really since he's joined the Arizona Cardinals. So that's a massive loss to the Arizona Cardinals offense, which really isn't firing on all cylinders to start the game. They lost a heartbreaker. As soon as they got this, as Calais Campbell got the sack on Mac Jones and got the safety, and they went up by 2 points, I kind of knew that they were going to lose by a field goal. At that point, it just seemed kismet in the universe that Arizona would stumble on their final drive and Mac Jones would lead the San Francisco 49ers into field goal range to get the game-winning field goal. But kind of a rough game there offensively. The defense really looks legit. I think Jonathan Gannon has finally gotten his defensive pieces together, and they were missing a couple of studs on the defensive side. I believe Will Johnson was also out for the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday, so they were missing a few pieces. On the Seattle Seahawks side, man, I would love it if they could run the ball in between the tackles, but it doesn't seem like they could really do that right now. They just kind of destroyed the New Orleans Saints. I mean, the first 30 minutes of the game, it was 38-3 or 38-6 going into halftime. The game was over already. I believe Jalen Milroe was kind of in the game, early on in the third quarter there. It was a complete domination from the Seahawks, who don't look now after kind of losing a really close one to the 49ers in week 1. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe that was away from home. They dismantled the Saints. So they're on a little bit of a roll here. And this NFC West is kind of shaping up to be like we thought it was going to be. You got 4 legitimately good football teams going here. But give me the Seahawks in this. I think the Cardinals' offensive performance, 3 games of the year, leaves a lot to be desired. Arguably one of their most pieces for the rest of the season. It'll be interesting to see how Kyler Murray kind of combats that. And Trey Benson is a more than capable starter behind him. But give me the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to ride the hot hand defensively, especially. So I'm going to take the Seahawks there in the first game. Then, speaking of the Steelers, we have the Steelers and the Vikings. And Carson Wentz really didn't have to do all that much, because if it was just the Cincinnati Bengals versus Isaiah Rodgers out there, Isaiah Rodgers would have won 14-10. And that is a serious stat. He scored the first ever perfect PFF grade in PFF history I don't usually go by PFF standards, but being the first player to do anything is really impressive. A 99.9 overall grade. He was exceptional this past weekend and was really the big catalyst for a monster performance for the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm not going to judge Carson Wentz really off that win because, I mean, you know what? He really threw for about 125 meaningful yards and one meaningful touchdown. The rest was just gravy at that point. The Steelers are coming off of a gritty victory against the New England Patriots, 21-14. They are 2-1 to start the year. I believe the Steelers are home in this one. This is 59% picked for the Vikings. I don't really know, to be quite honest with you. This is a tough game to pick because I don't really think either team the Vikings especially, I don't think they really showed exactly who they are this past week. The Steelers can't really get too much going offensively. Aaron Rodgers, threw for what? Under 150 yards or just over 150? I don't remember off the top of my head. The running game doesn't seem like it could really get out of its own way right now. Even though Jaylen Warren is getting a lot of meaningful touches and he's making good out of them so far, I feel like the run game, the passing game, everything's just kind of all over the place. The defense is still playing really well. And, it's tough. This is actually one of the tougher picks of the week, I feel like. But give me the Vikings over the Steelers. I just think the way that the offense kind of flowed for the Minnesota Vikings, even while they were winning big, I feel like it looked much more, how do I put this diplomatically? It looked much more complete with Carson Wentz at the helm than it did J.J. McCarthy. And again, a young quarterback who is developing. Of course, he's going to take some time. He's only played 2 NFL games. I get it. But the Steelers just can't get really anything going offensively for the most part. And I do think that the Minnesota Vikings defense will hold Aaron Rodgers in check. So give me the Vikings here. 2 away teams winning in the first 2 games here. The Falcons and the Commanders. Man, the Commanders offense did not miss a beat at all without Jaden Daniels. Granted, they did have a rather easy defensive opponent to go up against with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are a little bit of a weird team so far to start this year. The defense the first couple of weeks actually looked respectable. They gave up 20 points and they gave up 14. And then the defense just completely crapped the bed against a Marcus Mariota-led team. One player that I think looks great so far this season that is a bright spot for the Raiders, because everyone was saying, besides for Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, who is going to break out as this next big star? And I think they found it in Trey Tucker. 8 catches over 150 yards, 3 touchdowns. One of 2 players yesterday to score 3 touchdowns, him and Jonathan Taylor. A tremendous performance for him. But yeah, the Commanders on both sides of the ball looked pretty dang good. And then you have the Falcons, who are coming in with the biggest stinker performance of the week. I don't know if it is confirmed yet at the time of recording that Jaden Daniels is either going to play in week 4 or miss week 4, excuse me. But I'll be honest with you, the way that the Falcons played against the Carolina Panthers was abysmal. And that is a defensive unit that shouldn't be putting up goose eggs against offenses like the Atlanta Falcons possess. So give me the Washington Commanders, regardless of who the starter is this Sunday between Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. I think they get it done. Penix, I think Penix is a good quarterback. I do. I just think that he's going to need just a little bit more time to be a little bit more consistent. But yeah, give me the Washington Commanders here in this one. Buffalo Bills and the New Orleans Saints. This was really the first game for the New Orleans Saints this season where they looked like the worst team in football. And that wasn't apparent the first 2 weeks of the season because they were playing some pretty competitive games. But yeah, the Saints got absolutely trounced away from home by the Seattle Seahawks. It wasn't even a game by halftime. But Spencer Rattler, did his thing. I mean, what could you do at that point? It's really more on the defense than anything. I think he turned the ball over once. So really, the defense just could not hold the Seattle Seahawks offense. The Buffalo Bills are chugging right along. At home, a comfortable win against the Miami Dolphins. I don't really know if that's what I would call it, a comfortable win. I feel like they should have done a little bit better than they did. But hey, at the end of the day, the defense only gave up 21 points and the offense scored 31. So Josh Allen is just rolling right along, continuing in, MVP caliber play. Give me the Buffalo Bills over the New Orleans Saints in this one pretty easily. So At the time of recording, the Lions have only played 2 games, so we don't really know what's going to come of week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens. But I will tell you this, the Cleveland Browns put up probably the most impressive performance of the week, in my opinion, at least on the defensive side. It's really sad because the Cleveland Browns might have the best defensive front in football. I mean, they were just all over the place against Jordan Love. I think they sacked him 5 times, and he was running for his life most of the game. Carson Swessinger looks like an absolute stud. You know, the first pick of the second round in this past draft, he looks like an unbelievable linebacker for them. You know, Mason Graham got involved in the sack party. Myles Garrett, again, the secondary held up really well. Offensively, this is what you're going to expect from the Cleveland Browns. It's a lot of dinking and dunking, but Quashon Judkins actually looked in his first full start for the Cleveland Browns. He looked really, really good. I think he had 18 carries for 94 yards. He added a touchdown in there as well. So it looks like he's getting up to speed. And against a pretty stout run defense for the Green Bay Packers, you know, Quashon Judkins definitely looked really, really good. But that's besides the point here. I think the Lions kind of woke up. I think they got, they got smacked in the mouth in week 1. They didn't expect the Green Bay Packers to come out the way that they did, and then they bounced back very, very nicely in week 2 against the Chicago Bears, putting up 52 points. The offense looks like it hasn't missed a beat. And this line's offensive line, I expect to, for the most part, neutralize the front 4 of the Cleveland Browns, and I think it'll be business as usual for Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and company. Give me the Lions over the Browns. And you had the Patriots and the Panthers, and I'm not buying into it there, Bryce Young. I'm not buying into it. 30-0 is not indicative of how the Carolina Panthers have played so far this year. I don't know what voodoo magic you pulled against that Atlanta Falcons team, but I see right through it. The Patriots probably should have won on Sunday. They probably should be 2-1 right now. I think they had plenty of chances to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. They just couldn't find a way to get the ball in the end zone at the end of the game. I think they had the ball with like 2 minutes left on the plus side of the field, and I think Drake May actually fumbled the ball away. So I think the Patriots kind of beat the Panthers pretty soundly here. I think that Drake May has been playing some really, really good ball so far. The offense, we haven't even seen the full potential of the offense. Hunter Henry has looked awesome so far this year. Him and Drake May have quite the connection so far this season. Give me the Patriots over the Panthers. The defense is playing good enough to the point where I think that they could do very, very well against this Panthers offense. And Ted McMillan, again, before really the game got out of hand, he looked like he was going to put in another really, really good performance. But then, when you're up that big, you don't need to throw the football anymore. The New York Giants and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers 3-0 with 3 wins against division opponents. So they are 3-0 on the season and 3-0 in the division. What a massive start to the season for Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter, Justin Herbert, and co. And I'll be honest with you, kind of a side note, I was actively, the entire offseason, I was actively trying to trade Keenan Allen off of my dynasty team because I always like to go with the younger players. Keenan Allen far and away is the oldest player that I have on my team. He's literally the unk of the team. I don't think I have another player that's like over the age of 26 or 27 on my dynasty team. He is the oldest player by far, but I'm so glad that no one wanted him because he has been a mainstay in my starting lineup since week 1. He's had a complete resurgence. It kind of seemed like that was going to be the way that it was going to go because, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen had a great connection when he was in Los Angeles the first time around, and they've picked up right where they left off. Justin Herbert looks great throwing the football. He finally has a bevy of weapons to throw the football to. Omarion Hampton with a huge breakout game in his 3rd game of his career. I thought he really displayed that dual threat ability that we knew he had at North Carolina. And the Giants are probably going to be in the midst of a quarterback change. I'm not going to put too much stock into the way that Russell Wilson played on Sunday night because the Chiefs defense is really tough. Malik Neighbors was basically bottled up 2 catches for 14 yards. Cam Skattebo is going to be the lead back for the New York Giants for quite some time. I believe Tyron Tracy has gone down with a significant injury. I'm not sure off the top of my head, though, if he's on IR or not, but he looked pretty good. He was the leading rusher, leading receiver. He had the only touchdown, I believe, of the night for the Giants, too. But yeah, give me the Chargers. I mean, this Chargers defense, I feel like even though they did give up 20 points and didn't get a turnover off of the Denver Broncos. I feel like they're so gritty, they're so determined when it really matters most. They know how to clamp down. So I think the Chargers are going to have, even though the Giants aren't a horrible team by any stretch of the imagination, give me the Chargers over the New York there. So we're going to go down in half, or almost the second half of here. The Buccaneers and the Eagles. You Buccaneers didn't have as many injuries as they did so far this season. I would probably go with Baker Mayfield and the Bucs. The Eagles did get quite the scare from the Los Angeles Rams this past week, but the defense, Jalen Hurts kind of silenced a lot of the doubters. He kind of clutched up after he got absolutely mollywopped by Jalen McCullough for a sack. He actually, and I think it was a sack fumble, or he did fumble the ball at some point, and then after that fumble, he came back and he played some great ball through a go-ahead touchdown on 4th and goal to Devonta Smith, and then they did not look back after that. And the Buccaneers, are coming off of a scare against the New York Jets, but if you guys watched that game like I did, because I am a New York Jets fan, you know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in full control for about 50-plus minutes of that game. And then, they kind of let their foot off the gas, a little bit of questionable touchdown call for Allen Lazard, kind of got it going for the New York Jets. And the next thing you know, it was 26 to, what was the score? 26 to 20. And then Will McDonald had literally one of the greatest plays I've ever seen a New York Jet make. He jumped over the offensive lineman and blocked the field goal, picked up the field goal, and ran it all the way for a touchdown. It was an unbelievable play, but at that point, and especially once I saw Aaron Glenn dancing on the sideline, I knew the Jets were going to lose. But it's okay. It's all in a day's work as a Jet fan. But yeah, the Bucs, and especially if they lose Mike Evans for a significant amount of time as well. I mean, Emeka Egbuka has looked fantastic. They couldn't really be getting Chris Godwin back at a better time if Mike Evans is not a full go. So that would be a really nice boost for the offense. But this offensive line going up against the Eagles, the offensive line for the Buccaneers committed a bevy of penalties, not only in the first half, but in the entire game against the New York Jets. The interior of this offensive line is just, the whole offensive line in general is just super injured. The Jets were able to get decent pressure on Baker Mayfield, even though I think they sacked him maybe once. But this Eagles defensive front is much better, in my opinion, than the New York Jets. And I do think that the Eagles are going to ride their defense to a victory and a 4-0 start to the season for the defending Super Bowl champions. Now, you have the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. My God, what a horrible matchup here. You have the Houston Texans who, again, on the ground, just can't really get out of their own way. They just can't establish the run. Their offense is just so one-dimensional. It was a nice comeback in a dead game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They had a pretty nice comeback there at the end. A Nico Collins 50-yard touchdown made things quite interesting. The Tennessee Titans look like they kind of took a step back last week against or on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Give me the Houston Texans here. I do think the Texans, especially at home, are going to give Cam Ward quite a fit from the defensive front. It does look like he's getting pressured quite a bit, and it looks like it's really, really impacting him so far this season. So I guess the offensive line isn't totally complete. He hasn't really been linking up with his receivers very well either. Calvin Ridley has not, despite being the most targeted receiver on the Titans, only has 8 catches this season. Alec Iomaner has actually had a really nice start to the season, a couple touchdowns as well. He was going to be a stud. He was always going to be a stud coming out of Stanford. I don't know why he waited around to the 5th round to get picked, but be that as it may, I'm going to take the Texans over the Tennessee Titans in this one. But while I am taking the Texans here, I also wouldn't be surprised if the Titans turn around and win. CJ Stroud has not been playing good ball to start the year. Then you have the 3-0 Indianapolis Colts taking on the 2-1, should be 3-0 if we're being completely transparent, Los Angeles Rams here. I think the Rams are a dark horse Super Bowl contender, and I don't think that they get enough credit. Even though their offense hasn't been totally pretty so far this year, it looks like Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams are building some kind of nice rapport. Kyron Williams has been super solid to start the season. Puka Nacua has been a top 5 receiver in football so far throughout the first 3 weeks of the season. The Colts, to me, they've rode 3 separate things, I feel like, to victory in 3 weeks, which is good. That means that all aspects of the game are firing on all cylinders. You have, I believe it was week 1, Daniel Jones had a fantastic performance. Week 2, it was the defense, right? And then week 3, it was Jonathan Taylor. Well, the defense has actually played really well so far this year anyway, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor. The defense clamped down in week 2 against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos in the second half and didn't really allow them to do anything on the offensive side. But give me the Los Angeles Rams here. I think that they kind of come into this game knowing that they should be 3-0. If they don't get a field goal blocked in return for a touchdown, they should be 3-0 here. And that would be, 2 out of the 3 opponents that they had victories on, if they did win on Sunday, would be against the Houston Texans away from home and then the Philadelphia Eagles away from home as well. But give me the Rams over the Colts in this one. The 49ers and the Jaguars is probably going to be a closer game than we initially think it's going to be. The Jaguars coming off of a divisional win against the Houston Texans. The San Francisco 49ers coming off of a divisional win against the Arizona Cardinals. They are 3-0 as well. This is going to be a tough one for me, especially with Nick Bosa out. I don't know. And with Mac Jones, I do think Mac Jones is going to get another start. I feel like I shouldn't pick this one just yet. But I will say on the Jaguars side, they are playing some gritty football. I don't know what is wrong with Brian Thomas Jr. to start the year, but I don't think it's going to get better against the San Francisco 49ers. I just think that Mac Jones is like a perfect step down from Brock Purdy, whereas Brock Purdy is probably the more athletic, higher ceiling version of Mac Jones. They're kind of like the same player in a weird way. But hey, Mac Jones has done his part to be 2-0 as the starter of the San Francisco 49ers. And if they can get a win here, if he doesn't play, if they can get a win here against Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, that would be a big boost for them as well. I mean, Christian McCaffrey looks like he is absolutely at full strength to start the year. He's looked phenomenal so far. You know what? I convinced myself. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers here. Moving on, you have the Ravens and the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs don't scare me anymore. The Chiefs look like a broken team. On the offensive side of the ball, they just can't get anything going, really. On the ground, through the air, I feel like they're getting stopped by teams that are just way worse than them. I feel like they should have went into MetLife Stadium last night and they should have blown the Giants out of the water. If you are... I don't want to hear this excuse, oh, they're just on autopilot mode until the playoffs like usual. No, you gotta go out there and you gotta blow out these teams because 22-9 or whatever the score was, I think it was 22-9, just doesn't really scream, yeah, this team is back. And that was a really convincing first win of the year. And the Ravens, despite not having the greatest overall, somehow the Ravens always have amazing defensive players and just somehow wind up giving up so many points. It's hilarious to me. But granted, I don't know what the week 3 outcome is going to be, but the Lions offense is loaded. The Bills offense was loaded in week 1. And then against a lesser opponent like the Cleveland Browns, they only gave up 10 points. But yeah, this Chiefs team doesn't scare me anymore. Give me the Baltimore Ravens in this one over the Chiefs. I just think until they could really solve the running back problem that they have, because Isaiah Pacheco, in my opinion, just is not it. Kareem Hunt is not it. When you have to rely on Patrick Mahomes to make plays with his feet, I know he can, but when he's your leading rusher, 2 out of the 3 weeks, not great. Not great at all. Defensively, they're always going to be pretty good, but there's something missing with the Kansas City Chiefs this year. I can't put my finger on it, and then you have, I cannot believe this. Hold on. The Raiders are favorited over the Bears in this one. Yeah, give me the Bears every time over this one. The Caleb Williams easily had the best game of his career this past week against the Dallas Cowboys. I did pick against the Chicago Bears in that one as well. The Bears look awesome. Offensively, they came out with a couple trick plays. This was the Ben Johnson breakout game that we were looking for. Granted, this game has a little bit of an asterisk next to it because the Dallas Cowboys lost CeeDee Lamb very, very early on in the game. So it could have been a little bit of a different game for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. But, it is what it is. The Bears did what they had to do. They forced 4 turnovers. Luther Burden had a breakout game. Rome Odunze scored another touchdown. DeAndre Swift looked good on the ground. The offensive line held up. Caleb Williams, I think, for the first time in his career, didn't get sacked in an NFL game. They played really, really well, and this could be the turning point for the Cleveland Browns. Like I said as well before, the Raiders coming off of a terrible loss. Offensively, they just didn't look that great either. I think Brock Bowers is a little bit more injured than the Raiders are leading us to believe. 4 catches for 38 yards this past week. I think he had like 5 for 32 the week before that. I think it would have been wise to sit him for a couple games to make sure that he gets right. But listen, that's why they're NFL coaches, and that's why I'm currently sitting in my office in my house talking to you on a microphone on YouTube. So I try and remind myself of that all the time. But anyway, I think the Raiders being picked 52% over the Bears is kind of crazy to me. I'll just say that. The Packers and the Cowboys. Now, I don't think the Packers, this is a Sunday night football game, I'm pretty sure. The Packers, a lot of people screamed fraud. Hey, everyone is due a bad game. And the Browns are not as bad, at least defensively. The Browns are not a bad football team defensively. They bottled up. Jacobs had 15 for yards. They bottled up Josh. And you know what? The offense through Josh Jacobs in that running attack. If they become one-dimensional, Matthew Golden isn't up to speed yet to be that weapon that could completely blow away a defense just yet. Tucker Kraft obviously was feeling the injuries that he had this past week. It was just a bad all-around game for the Packers. I fully expect them to bounce back against the Dallas Cowboys, who I honestly think at the beginning of the season are kind of really up against the wall here against some really, really talented offenses. And it sucks because the Cowboys now are going to be without CeeDee Lamb for 2 to 4 weeks, probably more on the 2-week side. But by then, say it's 4 weeks and he comes back and the Cowboys are 2-5 at that point. Not great, not a great start for the Dallas Cowboys. But this is a rough one against the Packers here. Well, we know that they're going to get a win next week because I'm pretty sure they play the New York Jets, after the Packers. So that'll be a win for them for sure. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. But yeah, give me the Packers to bounce back nicely over the Dallas Cowboys in this one. My New York Jets, who I've been talking a whole lot of crap about the entire video, against the Miami Dolphins. And I will be quite honest with you here. There is nothing stopping me from picking this New York Jets team over this Miami Dolphins team. I think that I know that they have the most missed tackles in the NFL so far, and nothing has really changed defensively. I feel like this was their best defensive performance of the season because technically they only gave up 22 points on the defensive side, a pick 6, what made it 29 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the Jets battled back. Listen, I'm really grasping at straws here, but the New York Jets should have won week 1. They got decimated by the Bills in week 2. And honestly, they should have won last week too. We're looking at a potential 2-1 team that's sitting at 0-3 right now. There is a lot of fight in this team. I am seeing changes in this team under Aaron Glenn. They're not just rolling over and dying because I swear to you, once a team last year scored 20 points against the Jets, they just kind of rolled over and died. And they were like, well, there's always next week to try and win. No, not this week. I mean, it was 26-10 with 10 minutes left, and they wound up taking, a lead. So this is a team that I think really does have fight in them. And the Dolphins are a mess defensively. They really are. Offensively, I mean, that's what kind of scares me against the Jets. Jalen Waddle had a nice game against the Bills. Tyreek Hill had a nice game. Devon Achane is a really, really scary player to go up against the Jets. But I have faith in my boys. I'm not just going to be completely negative the entire time. I'm going with the Jets over the Dolphins on Monday Night Football. And then our last game here that we are picking, it is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Denver Broncos. And this is really nice for the Denver Broncos after coming off of 2 brutal losses after having a really crappy week 1 win. What was that, like 16-9 or something? That game was against the Tennessee Titans. They lost a heartbreaker on the final kick of the game to the Indianapolis Colts away from home, and then away from home again against the Los Angeles Chargers. They lost on a last-second field goal. So this team, while I don't think that we've seen their full potential offensively so far this year, I think the running game really needs to get a little bit up to speed. I think RJ Harvey needs to be involved in the offense a little bit more as well. Bo Nix, they haven't really let Bo Nix release the ball down the field either yet this year. I think they're going to start to come out. And against this Bengals team that just gave up 48 points to the Minnesota Vikings and Carson Wentz, yeah, there's really no reason to even be talking more about this game than I already have. It's going to be the Denver Broncos on the second half of the Monday Night Football slate. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There are my picks for week 4 of the 2025-26 NFL season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.